today's video, I'm going to share NotebookLM and how I generated a podcast about the Kuzat Nomads, my faction of gnolls. All right, but let me go over the basics. So I'm going to create a new notebook. There we go. Okay, so down here we have some different options. I've been using PDF files, but for some reason they've been getting stuck. So I'm going to try to do a different thing here. Let me go to, I have the text that I've worked on for quite a while. So I'm going to edit and select all. All right. And then I'm going to copy. I'm going to go back. Now I'm going to come over here to copied text. Gives me a nice box. Click. I'll right click and paste. Okay. So I have I almost have it. Let's let it get. And okay, great. So it uses some of the information in there to come up with a title. And let me go to Obsidian. I have something ready here. Okay, so the file has 1,420 words. So the podcast I'm going to share is just using this information. And these are the three prompts I put in for the, and they're pretty general for the podcast. Focus on the faction, the race, and fantasy elements. Focus on the sub-factions, goals and strengths of the Kuzat Nomads, the best hunters and animal trainers and tamers. Also discuss their gods of worship. Target Dungeons and Dragons fans and solo RPG players and world builders. Okay, so I would copy that and go back. Here we go. So up here in the studio is where we have the deep dive, and they have two hosts. I'm going to click on customize. Okay. So I'm just going to ignore that and copy in my stuff. And, okay, I wouldn't put that there for them, but I would have these questions or these prompts, and then I would click generate. I'm not going to do that now because I already have one. And I actually haven't really messed with the settings, but they've been turning out to be about 20 minutes or so, 20 to 30 minutes. And I chose this faction because the Kuzat Nomads are a little bit more basic kind of a faction. They're not as complex as some of the other ones I have. And yeah, so I'm going to now transfer it over to the video I made, and I'm hoping this will all work out. So hopefully this will be helpful for you and you'll enjoy some of the podcasts with the two AIs discussing my lore. All right.
Right. So we're going to take a deep dive today into the Kuzat Nomads,
okay,
which is a faction of gnolls that have really kind of turned survival into like an art form.
Yeah.
Out in the wilds of Uzul.
Right.
And we're going to find out, like, what makes these master hunters and beast tamers tick? You know, what's their culture, their beliefs, and what about these, like, intense primal gods that they worship?
Absolutely.
I'm fascinated already, and I think you will be too.
Yeah, the thing about the Kuzat that I find really captivating is they challenge the usual gnoll stereotypes, right?
Right.
They're not just like these mindless raiders that we see so often. They're strategic, they're resourceful, and they're deeply spiritual.
Yeah.
And their nomadic lifestyle might seem chaotic on the surface, but when you look deeper, it's actually this really carefully calculated dance of adaptation and resilience.
Yeah. It's like they've taken that classic savage archetype and like infused it with this like layer of depth and complexity.
Absolutely.
Which like any D&D fan or world builder is going to eat that up.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin with a group that's as multifaceted as the Kuzat?
I think a great place to start is with their core principle.
Yep.
Survival above all else.
Okay.
And this isn't just like a saying or anything.
Right.
It really does permeate like every facet of their existence.
Yeah.
So it shapes their nomadic wanderings, obviously,
Mhm.
their reverence for the wild, even their relationships with other creatures.
Okay, so it's more than just a cool tagline. How does this survival above all else philosophy like actually play out in their everyday lives?
We'll take their nomadic lifestyle, for example.
Okay.
They don't have permanent settlements, right?
Right.
Which on the surface, you might think that that's a disadvantage.
Yeah.
But this constant movement allows them to avoid overhunting a single area,
Oh, yeah.
adapt to changing seasons, and they can also more easily evade potential conflicts.
So it's like a strategic advantage disguised as just like a simple way of life.
Right.
Clever.
Exactly.
But I'm also curious about their like spiritual side.
Yeah.
We know that they worship some pretty intense primal deities.
For sure.
How does that fit into the whole like survival picture?
Well, their gods are like intrinsically linked to their struggle for survival.
Okay.
Take Sylthar, the god of the hunt.
Hmm.
He represents not just the act of killing for food,
Right.
but the skills, the instincts, and the cunning needed to thrive in a hostile environment.
Hmm.
So for the Kuzat, the hunt is both a sacred ritual and a practical necessity.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Blurring the lines between the mundane and the spiritual.
Uh-huh.
It's like every successful hunt is a testament to their faith and their ability to survive.
Precisely.
Wow.
And this connection to the divine isn't limited to Sylthar either.
Okay.
The Kuzat have a whole pantheon of gods that represent different aspects of their world and the challenges they face.
Okay, so that brings us to their sub-factions.
Right.
I'm dying to know how these groups function within this larger nomadic society.
Sure.
Do they have like different roles, different strengths?
Absolutely. Each sub-faction reflects a specific aspect of Kuzat life, and together they form a surprisingly intricate social structure.
Okay.
So, for example, you have the Shaman Kings Circle.
Okay.
They're the spiritual leaders. They're the ones interpreting the will of the gods and guiding the Kuzat through rituals and prophecies.
So they're like the keepers of wisdom and tradition,
Yes.
which would be essential for a group that relies so heavily on like spiritual guidance.
Yeah.
What about the more like practical aspects of survival?
Right.
Like who handles things like resource management and defense?
So that would be the Sandstone Chiefs.
Okay.
They're the pragmatic leaders responsible for the day-to-day survival of the tribe.
Okay.
So they're the ones who are making decisions about migration routes,
Mm-hmm.
resource allocation,
Okay.
and even tactical maneuvers when necessary.
Wow, that sounds like a delicate balancing act. Leading a nomadic people while also keeping them safe and well supplied.
Yeah.
I could see why they would need a separate group dedicated to like protection. Is that where the Scorch Claw Pack comes in?
You got it.
Okay.
The Scorch Claw Pack are the elite warriors, the protectors of sacred sites, and the enforcers of tribal law.
So like a mix of guardians and like special forces.
Yeah.
Always ready to defend the Kuzat from threats, internal and external.
Right.
Okay, so we've got spiritual leaders, pragmatic chiefs, and fierce protectors. But I'm also curious about those specialized military units you mentioned earlier.
Oh, yeah.
The Dusk Brawlers.
Yeah.
The Silent Mirage Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
They sound like something straight out of a D&D campaign.
They are fascinating, aren't they?
Yeah.
So the Dusk Brawlers are your frontline shock troops,
Okay.
known for their ferocity and brutal combat tactics.
So they're like the hammer that breaks enemy lines,
Uh-huh.
creates chaos,
Yeah, chaos in the name of survival.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And what about those stealthy Silent Mirage Scouts?
So, as their name suggests, they're masters of stealth and reconnaissance. They're the eyes and ears of the Kuzat gathering intel, infiltrating enemy territory, and then disappearing without a trace.
So brute force and cunning espionage, it seems like the Kuzats have all their bases covered when it comes to defense.
They do.
But there's one more subfaction I'm dying to hear about.
Okay.
The Savage Sandstorm Barbarians.
Yeah.
That name alone conjures up images of primal fury.
They are indeed a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
Imagine like a swirling vortex of rage and muscle, harnessing the very fury of the desert winds.
So they're the Kuzats like berserkers,
Right.
unleashing devastating attacks.
Absolutely. They can really turn the tide of battle.
It's like they've taken the gnolls' natural ferocity and just like amplified it tenfold.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm starting to see how these subfactions each play a crucial role in the Kuzat survival, both individually and collectively.
And that's really just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, wow.
We haven't even delved into the specific tactics that they employ, their unique relationship with animals, or the deeper intricacies of their beliefs.
Okay.
There's so much more to discover about the Kuzat.
I'm already hooked.
Good.
And I know our listeners are eager to learn more about those fascinating primal gods. So let's dive into the Kuzat pantheon next
Okay.
and unravel the secrets of their spiritual world.
Let's do it. Yeah, the Kuzat pantheon is it's really a fascinating reflection of their harsh world and the values they hold dear.
Okay.
It's not just like a collection of gods or anything.
Yeah.
It's a really complex system that shapes their understanding of life, death, and everything in between.
You mentioned Sylthar, the god of the hunt, earlier.
Right.
I'm imagining a powerful, almost savage deity. What else can you tell us about him and his role in Kuzat beliefs?
Well, Sylthar is definitely a powerful figure,
Right.
embodying the wildness and untamed energy of the hunt.
Hmm.
He's often depicted as this like hulking gnoll with horns like a ram and eyes that burn like embers.
Wow.
But there's more to him than just brute force.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some of the more nuanced aspects of Sylthar?
Well, for the Kuzat, a successful hunt isn't just about strength. It's about cunning strategy and respect for your prey.
Right.
Sylthar embodies all of these qualities.
Okay.
He represents the delicate balance between predator and prey, the cycle of life and death that sustains their world.
So it's not just about, like, mindless killing.
No.
It's about understanding the natural order and your place within it.
Right.
I can see how that would be a powerful concept for people who rely so heavily on hunting for survival.
Exactly.
Wow.
And Sylthar isn't alone in the Kuzat pantheon either.
Okay.
There's also Ona, the goddess of growth and nature.
Okay.
She represents the gentler side of their beliefs, the healing power of the earth, and the importance of balance.
So Ona sounds like a crucial counterpoint to Sylthar's wild energy.
Yeah.
A reminder that survival isn't just about conquering nature, it's about coexisting with it.
You hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
Ona is revered for her nurturing aspect. She's
Mhm.
associated with healing, fertility, and the bounty of the natural world. The Kuzat see her as a provider, a source of life and renewal in a world that's often harsh and unforgiving.
So we've got the god of the hunt and the goddess of growth. Two
Right.
sides of the same coin representing the forces that shape the Kuzat's world. But you mentioned there are other gods as well.
Yes.
What roles do they play?
So there's Kutu, the god of duality and destiny.
Okay.
He represents the inherent contradictions of life, the light and shadow, the joy and sorrow, the inevitable cycle of creation and destruction.
Kutu sounds intriguing. A god of duality in a culture that's so focused on survival.
Yeah.
How does that manifest in their beliefs?
The Kuzats believe that Kutu governs the twists and turns of fate. They see his influence in both good fortune and hardship, believing that every event, no matter how difficult, serves a purpose in the grand tapestry of life.
So even in the face of adversity, they find a sense of meaning and order.
Yes!
It's a fascinating way of coping with the challenges of their world.
It's a testament to their resilience. And finally, we have Imus, the god of darkness and the abyss.
Okay.
Now he's a more enigmatic figure, often misunderstood by outsiders.
Imus sounds a bit intimidating. Is he a malevolent force?
Not necessarily.
Oh.
While he represents darkness and the unknown, the Kuzat don't view him as inherently evil.
Okay.
They see him as a necessary part of the balance, a reminder that death is as much a part of life as birth.
So instead of fearing death, they acknowledge it as like a natural part of the cycle.
Right.
It's a pretty profound concept.
And it ties back into their core principle of survival.
Okay.
By accepting the inevitability of death, they can focus on living each day to the fullest and ensuring the continuation of their tribe.
I'm starting to see how these gods aren't just like separate entities.
Right.
They represent intertwined forces that shape the Kuzat's world and guide their actions.
Absolutely.
But how do these beliefs manifest in their daily lives?
Yeah.
Do they have like specific rituals or practices that honor these gods?
They do. Their rituals are this fascinating blend of the practical and the spiritual.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Give us the details. What are some of these rituals like?
So take the Great Hunt, for example.
Okay.
It's not just a hunt for food. It's a sacred rite of passage where young Kuzat prove their skills and honor Sylthar.
So it's like a coming-of-age ceremony.
Yeah.
A spiritual experience and a practical exercise all rolled into one.
Exactly.
I bet it's quite a spectacle to witness.
Oh, yeah. You can imagine the energy and excitement as these young hunters set out to prove themselves.
Yeah.
It's a pivotal moment in their lives, a chance to demonstrate their worthiness to both the tribe and their gods.
Okay, so we've got the Great Hunt. What are some other rituals that stand out?
Well, there's the Predator's Moon Ceremony,
Okay.
where shamans channel Sylthar's primal energy to commune with the spirits of the hunt and ensure a successful season.
Whoa.
Imagine a firelit ritual under the full moon with chanting, drumming, and a palpable sense of ancient power.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah,
And I bet our listeners, especially those D&D fans and world builders, are soaking this up.
I hope so.
And for a more introspective experience, is there anything like that?
Yeah, there's the Wilderness Vigil.
Okay.
This is a solitary ritual where individuals venture into the wilds to connect with their chosen deity and test their resilience.
So it's time for self-reflection, spiritual growth,
Mm-hmm.
and confronting one's fears?
Exactly.
Wow. So there's a ritual for every aspect of their lives, from honoring the gods to testing their limits and ensuring their survival.
It seems like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we haven't talked much about their relationship with animals.
Right.
You know, we know they're renowned for their animal handling skills.
Yes.
How does that factor into their culture and their beliefs?
Well, their bond with animals is deeply ingrained in their way of life.
Okay.
It's not just about dominance or training.
Yeah.
It's about mutual respect and understanding.
Hmm.
The Kuzats believe that animals are more than just beasts. They're companions, allies, and even spiritual guides.
I'm imagining Kuzat warriors riding into battle alongside giant hyenas or packs of wolves.
Oh, yeah.
It's a powerful image that really speaks to their connection to the wild.
It is.
But how does this bond manifest in their everyday lives?
Well, you'll see Kuzat children forming close bonds with animal companions from a young age.
Okay.
And these animals aren't just pets.
Right.
They're partners in training and exploration.
Okay.
They help with hunting, tracking, and even protecting the tribe.
It's almost like a symbiotic relationship with both sides benefiting from the bond.
Right.
It's a fascinating twist on the usual dynamic between humans and animals.
It is.
And it really highlights the Kuzats' deep respect for the natural world.
Yeah.
They understand that survival isn't just about conquering their environment. It's about finding a way to live in harmony with it.
Absolutely.
That's a valuable lesson for any world builder or D&D player crafting their own societies. But I'm curious, how do these skilled hunters and beast tamers interact with the other factions of Yuzul?
Right.
Do their survivalist tendencies extend to their political dealings?
Absolutely. Their interactions with other factions are a delicate dance of diplomacy, strategy, and self-preservation.
Okay.
They're wary of outsiders, but also recognize the need for alliances in a world full of potential threats.
So they're not isolationists, but they're definitely cautious.
Hmm.
I can see how that survival above all else mindset would make them wary of trusting outsiders. Which factions have they, chosen to align with?
Well, one of their strongest alliances is with the Kutari Watchers,
Right.
another group that venerates Sylthar.
Okay.
So they share a deep respect for the natural world and the balance between predator and prey.
Makes sense that they'd find common ground with another faction that shares their spiritual beliefs. What kind of advantages does this alliance offer?
Well, the Kataris are known for their vigilance
Okay.
and their knowledge of the land. They often share information about migration patterns, potential threats, and sacred sites, which is invaluable to a nomadic people like the Kuzat.
Yeah, it's like having a network of scouts and guardians watching over their territory. Pretty handy in a world as dangerous as Yuzul.
Are there any other groups they have chosen to trust?
Yeah, they also have a close relationship with the Izgner tribes,
Okay.
another nomadic people who've adapted to survival in harsh environments. They often collaborate on trade-sharing resources and exchanging knowledge about navigating treacherous
They
terrains.
strengthen numbers, especially
Yeah.
when you're constantly on the move.
Uh,
It sounds like a mutually beneficial partnership, but I'm guessing they haven't completely sworn off dealing with larger, more established powers.
That's right. They've also forged a strategic partnership, albeit a cautious one, with the Nargok Empire.
Okay.
Now, the Empire is known for its military might and expansionist tendencies,
Right.
which usually makes the Kuzat wary.
I can see why they'd be hesitant. The Empire's goals seem at odds with the Kuzat's desire for freedom and independence. What's the motivation behind this unlikely partnership?
Necessity, mostly.
The Nargok Empire controls access to valuable resources,
Right.
like metals, weapons, and certain luxury goods.
Okay.
The Kuzat recognize the need to trade for these items, even if it means dealing with a power they don't fully trust.
So it's like a calculated risk. They're willing to engage with the Empire, but only on their own terms and always with an eye toward self-preservation. Makes you wonder how those negotiations play out.
Oh, I'm sure it's a fascinating dance of diplomacy and veiled threats.
Yeah.
But this pragmatic approach also highlights their adaptability.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to bend when necessary, as long as it ultimately serves their survival.
Speaking of survival, we haven't talked much about their enemies.
Right.
If the Kutari and Iskner are their allies, who are the factions that pose a threat to the Kuzat way of life?
So their biggest threat is the Isari Alliance,
Okay.
a powerful and ambitious faction that seeks to unify all of Uzul under its rule.
Okay.
So this expansionist ideology directly clashes with the Kuzat's love of freedom and their nomadic traditions.
Ah, the classic conflict between those who crave power and those who value independence.
Aww.
I can see why the Asari would be a thorn in the Kuzat side.
The Isari see the Kuzat's nomadic lifestyle as chaotic and unpredictable,
Okay.
a threat to their vision of a unified and orderly society.
Right.
They've made several attempts to subdue or assimilate the Kuzat,
Okay.
leading to ongoing tensions and skirmishes.
So it's not just an ideological conflict, it's an active struggle for survival.
Hmm.
And I bet their other major enemy, the Alisek Order, adds another layer of complexity to the midst.
Definitely. The Alisek are a highly disciplined religious order with their own rigid beliefs.
Okay.
They view the Kuzat's primal faith as primitive and heretical,
Right.
leading to clashes over territory and spiritual authority.
So it's a clash of cultures, a clash of faiths, and a clash of wills.
Mm.
The Kuzat seem to be surrounded by potential adversaries.
Yes.
It's a testament to their strength and resilience that they've managed to survive for so long in such a hostile environment.
Their ability to adapt, their deep connection with nature, and their unwavering commitment to survival have allowed them to thrive despite these challenges.
Mm-hmm.
But their future is uncertain.
That's a great point. As the political landscape of Uzul continues to shift, how will the Kuzat navigate these complexities?
Right.
Will their nomadic traditions endure, or will they be forced to change?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Will they be able to maintain their independence in the face of growing empires and shifting alliances?
Right.
Or will they be forced to compromise their values to survive? It's a thought-provoking question for any world builder to consider.
Exactly. The Kuzat Nomads offer a fascinating study in adaptability, resilience, and the challenges of maintaining cultural identity in a world full of conflict.
Yeah.
For those of you listening, especially those D&D fans and solo RPG players, I encourage you to explore the possibilities.
What would it be like to encounter a Kuzat hunting party in the wilds?
Right?
Would you trade with them, seek their knowledge, or perhaps even join the ranks?
The choices are endless. You could even create your own Kuzat-inspired faction for your next campaign, drawing on their unique blend of spirituality, survivalism, and mastery of the wild.
The Kuzat Nomads remind us that even in the harshest of worlds, life finds a way. They embody the spirit of adaptation, the power of belief, and the unyielding will to survive against all odds.
So keep exploring, keep creating, and keep diving deep into the worlds that fascinate you. Until next time, may your adventures be filled with wonder and discovery.